Part of working as a consultant in the construction industry means that I work with a lot of second generation owners. And if you're a second generation owner, today's video is for you because you know all too well what comes with inheriting a business. You inherit all of the personal relationships along with all of these special deals and all of the history that comes with those special deals. The trust building that has happened over the years, and all of the personal touches that your parent or a family member put into every one of those deals or every one of those relationships. Now, for a lot of people, that is a fantastic thing because that is a lot of goodwill that has been built by your father or your family member over the years that then carries you into, future relationships and future business. That is absolutely an asset. But then you also quickly realize that it is also a problem because in today's world and in today's economy, it is very difficult to run a business that is owner reliant, meaning that every time there is either a question or an issue or something or a concern with a customer or with a certain deal or with a certain part of the business, it has to include you personally. You have to put your personal touch into it. Every time someone calls that has had a certain history with the company, they prefer to talk to the owner because that is how they have always done business. You find yourself having to attend events or trade shows or certain get-togethers that have just been a tradition, either in the industry or in the community, that your company or, your father always showed up to. He always showed up to the golf tournaments. He always showed up to certain get-togethers, and you inherit those as well. You also inherit certain expectations that may or may not be realistic for you and your lifestyle. With all of this together, it very quickly becomes unsustainable. And so let's talk about it. Let's talk about what it means to be a second generation owner of a business in either building materials or in the construction service industry. And let's talk about when you inherit a business that is very owner focused and how you can transition that business into a more systems focused business. Because you have probably heard of that term. You've probably heard either in a YouTube video or in a LinkedIn article that you need to kind of move away from working in your business and you need to work on your business. That means that you need to let go of some of the tasks that can either be automated or that can be delegated. And then you as the leader work on actually improving the business and not specific tasks that are taking up a lot of your time or that will not be sustainable in the future. One of the biggest issues today with having an owner-focused business is that the economics do not work anymore. And again, if you are in the construction industry especially, labor costs have gone up significantly. Material costs have gone up. Energy costs have gone up. And so even if the business was successful, either at the time that you inherited it or at some point in time, this was a successful business running on personal relationships, on referrals, on trade show, kind of leads and things like that, it is no longer going to work. It is not going to be efficient for you to keep running that way, and it is not going to be sustainable because the economics have changed. What was a 20% margin has now turned into a 10, maybe 12% margin at best. And you cannot continue that trend because it is going to sink your business, and you can see that coming, and so you need to do something about it. And then now you find yourself in this situation where you don't know how to bring in new business, especially when it does not involve you personally going to all of these events and personally taking your time to talk to people, to sell to them. Even when you have salespeople, sometimes they still need your input into every deal. And now you find yourself wondering, are there other ways that I can drum up new business? Because there is only one of you. There's only one of you. And the worst part of being in a situation like this is that not only does it have a physical toll, meaning that because there's only one of you and there's only so much you can do, that also becomes stressful. And when you're stressed, you don't come up with the best ideas. You're not able to fully access the part of you that is creative and that is problem solving. And so that now becomes a twofold problem, the physical exhaustion problem and also the mental toll that it's taking on you. And then in addition to that, you start to feel guilty because you're not spending enough time either with your family or on things that you enjoy. And then it very quickly becomes a monster that is swallowing you whole. So it's not just you spending so much time in the business, it's also you not being yourself. And all of this then now turns into stress and anxiety and all kinds of problems that you do not want to be a part of. And again, if you are a second generation owner, or if you know a second generation owner, these are very, very common problems. The resentment that comes from trying to, keep up the legacy and trying to make sure that you're not the person that's going to kill the good thing that was built. But also the guilt that you feel knowing that this is not how you want to operate. This is not going to be sustainable for you or your family. And now you have a fear that you will let them down, that you will not perform the way that they expected you to perform, and you will not be able to maintain this business the way that it has been maintained all of these years. And that's not to say that you're not doing your best. You're absolutely doing everything that you can do. But as I talked about earlier, the math is not working anymore. The economics do not make sense anymore. There was a time when doing business this way worked. There was a time when all you needed was a handful of customers who were going to recommend you to other customers. There was a time when just your name and you being known by everybody in the community was enough to keep a business afloat, was even enough to have a very successful business. It just doesn't work that way anymore. There is a lot more competition. There are a lot more distractions that your buyers and your customers are facing every day as it relates to the choices that they have. And then you still have the same 24 hours in a day. You can only do so much. So that business model that worked for 30 years up until this point is going to have to be shaken up. It can't continue to work in the same way. When you need new customers, it can't be the same trade shows that you go to hoping that you're going to meet the right person at the right time that needs exactly what it is that you're selling. It can't be the same networking events that you go to and, just sit around and talk to a few people and then just go home and somehow wait for a customer to show up or wait for that phone to ring. There has to be a more modern, a more responsive way for this moment that we're in, for the modern world, for you to be able to drum up new business, for you to be able to be visible in front of customers that have never heard of you and in front of customers that do not have those personal relationships. And so let's talk about the other side of the coin. What does it look like to be systems focused? And I know that you've heard this term before, and for a lot of people, it confuses them. It either confuses them or they're afraid of it, because what it sounds like automating everything. It sounds like taking all of your contacts and putting them into a computer and like spamming them with a whole bunch of mail or email and robocalls and just all of the things that we hate about impersonal communication. And that's not what it is at all. And some people also think it's pushy. There's all these pushy sales tactics and high pressure kind of manipulation tactics that are used when we talk about kind of systems that we use to remove our personal involvement into the business. And that's not at all what it is. Now, I have to acknowledge that there are some people that use those tactics, and that the spam that you've seen and the robocalls and the call centers and the telemarketing, it is real. I am not trying to assume that those things do not happen. That's what it looks like when it's done wrong, when it's done by people who do not know what they're doing, and especially by people who have no strategy. They're just throwing spaghetti at the wall and hoping that something lands. That's not the correct way to do it, and that is not the impression that I want you to have about systems. And I get that it's especially terrifying when it comes to, again, a business that has been built on trust, that has been built on a family name and very kind of sensitive relationships, personal relationships, and history that has gone over 30 years. So you do not want to transition from something as valuable as that into, these pushy, manipulative sales tactics. So I can understand the reservation when it comes to jumping from, this kind of personal, one-on-one relationship type business to very impersonal and very off-putting way of tricking people into buying from you. That's not what we're doing here. So I want to just say that up front, that when I talk about systems, that's not what I mean. It does involve a level of automation, but there is a way to do it where it does not throw away the goodwill and the relationships that you have built. So what does systems focused really mean? What is the actual day to day? What does it look like? What it really means is building infrastructure that allows more people to experience your expertise and to be brought into your ecosystem. And it does this without necessarily having you be a personal touch into every transaction and every relationship. It is still the same relationship building, but it expands beyond your personal capacity. And so what this looks like in real life terms is that your prospects, your would-be customers, find you online and consume some expert content that you have put out, either a video or an article or a piece of content that is valuable to them. And the more content they consume, the more they get to learn about you and your business and the history of your business and your products and your process and everything that makes your business unique. The more that trust is built, the more that they get to understand the way that you do business and how you connect with them. They see something in your business and in your process that they can relate to. And they see themselves using your product and how it improves their lives or how it makes their process better. And that is what builds trust. And you might be making one video or speaking at one event, but that piece of content travels further than you can travel personally. So that when these prospects finally engage with you, they are warm prospects. You're not starting from scratch with explaining everything about your business. You're actually just connecting on the things that you already connected on the things that they already saw and they already experienced that they were interested in. A lot of times they will just have questions about how to buy and not where do I start. Systems focus also means visibility. It means that you are able to see how many of these prospects that you have been engaging online or using certain pieces of content are in certain stages of the buying journey. As we know, a very small number of prospects, maybe 5%, will buy the first time they encounter your product or the first time that they meet you. Majority of your prospects are going to go through a buyer journey where they consume content, where they engage with your product, maybe try it, maybe come to a meeting or a demonstration. There's going to be several steps before we actually get to the buying transaction. And so visibility in your system helps you see, I have these number of prospects that just, consumed one piece of content. They just found out that we exist. And then I have this number of prospects that are engaging, that are asking questions, that are coming to meetings, that want to try the product. And then I have this number of prospects that are ready to buy, that are ready to make either a consultation, they're ready to schedule a consultation, or they're ready to meet with a salesperson, or they just want to make an order. They just need to figure out certain logistics. So having that visibility is very, very valuable, because even without you meeting each and every one of these prospects, you can see, and this can help you plan ahead for capacity, for example, for how much raw materials you need to buy. This is information that actually is an input into other areas of your business that will help you run more efficiently and be able to forecast certain demand for your product, for labor, and other things within your business. So that visibility is extremely important, and that will also help you as an individual plan your business around your life. It will give you time to be able to, when you can see what's coming, then you can also plan your life, and you can plan to take breaks when you need breaks and just organize your life more efficiently around your business. Another huge advantage of having systems is that they enable you to know what's working and what's not working. If you are putting out pieces of content, if you're doing videos, if you're speaking at certain events, if you have LinkedIn content, you're able to see what is more impactful for your audience. What pieces of content are drawing in new prospects, for example? What pieces of content are drawing in people that have already encountered a competitor and are now doing kind of a comparison? What pieces of content people are more curious about? They're asking questions, they're asking to see, they're asking to get a demonstration. This kind of feedback lets you know what's working and what you need to work on, either for the next piece of content or what you need to do more of so you can get a certain result. If you're looking to bring in more brand new prospects that have never heard of your business, then this lets you see, okay, based on this data, I need to create more content like this. I need to create more how-to videos. I need to put out more case studies. I need to do more testimonials. That data and that feedback that you get from having these systems is very, very impactful for your business, because it feeds into your pipeline and you can make adjustments whenever you need to. If you find that your pipeline is looking a little light, you don't have anyone that is scheduled for a demonstration or a consultation, then you have the levers that you can pull. You know which piece of content to do a bit more of pushing, either using ads, using ad spend, and you can push that to certain audiences. You know exactly where to add fuel so you can get the results that you need to get in terms of more leads into your pipeline. That visibility is going to give you so much flexibility as the owner of the business, because again, it helps you plan, it helps you forecast, it helps you just run more efficiently and spend your time more efficiently. And then let's also talk about follow-ups, because a lot of the times when you have an owner-focused business, it is incumbent on the owner to remember to call so-and-so and see where they are in their decision-making process, or call this other person, or meet with this other person and try to adjust the original proposal that they made. Now, when you have an inbound marketing system, you also have systems in place to do these follow-ups without them having to be personal touches. And whichever way that works for your business, you can install that to help you follow up with your clients. It can be either email or phone calls or texts. What makes this efficient is the fact that it is still a personal touch without having you personally on the phone or you personally sending that text message. Just because you're using electronic forms of communication does not mean that the message is still not a personal message. Does not mean that the message does not relate or the message is going to feel transactional. There is ways and there is professionals that can help you make your messaging and your follow-ups very personalized. We have plenty of software and tools that have been developed to make business still feel personal, even when it is being delivered over text message or voicemail or email, and you can choose whichever one best works for your business and your clients. And so as you can see, the focus here is these personal relationships that you have built, but now you're able to scale them using systems. You're able to add on data and automation to be able to reach a bigger audience, to be able to serve more people, to be able to do more business, but still maintain the nature of the industry in which you're in. You're still able to pick up the phone and call a customer if you need to. You can still get feedback directly from customers. It doesn't mean that you're going to abandon the things that have been working. It just means that you are using modern tools to do business in a modern world, but you are still keeping the mission and the feel of your business and the way that it was built. You're not going to throw that away. You're just going to fit it into a more modern way of doing business. And what I have advised my clients to do in the past is to segment their customers. Those customers that still expect personal touch and personal kind of meetings, then you can segment those and call those your key customers and still schedule meetings around them, still schedule, that kind of personal touch that they have always enjoyed for years and years and years. And then you can have another segment that is kind of semi-personal. So every so often you catch up with them, you call them, but majority of their communication, majority of updates and follow-ups and things like that are done through either an email system or a text messaging system or a voicemail system that keeps them informed of everything that's going on. Keep in mind that your prospects or your clients are busy as well. They also appreciate either an email or a text message rather than demanding to meet with them every time that there is an update. So they will also appreciate that they're getting more frequent feedback, more frequent kind of updates on what's going on with either their order without it necessarily taking up time from their schedule. So it is mutually beneficial. And what that does is free up time so you can work on drumming up new business. You can work on new campaigns. You can work on new content, new thought leadership pieces that are going to start bringing in an influx of new leads and new prospects that you can engage with. You're still leveraging your network. You're still serving your customers. You're still providing best-in-class customer service, and you're still upholding the legacy of your business and your family. But this time, it is more efficient, it is sustainable, and more importantly, it is profitable, because profit is what is going to keep this company going for generations and generations to come. And so what does installing systems in your business actually mean for you as a second generation owner? For one, you can stop feeling trapped in your business, working 60 hours a week just to keep the business afloat. And now you can have options. You can take a 2-week vacation without fear that the business will collapse. You can hire salespeople that actually close on deals because they're talking to warm prospects. They're talking to people who already have a sense of trust in the business because they have been consuming content, because they're more knowledgeable of what you do and why you do it. You can forecast your revenue with confidence because you're no longer flying blind. You're no longer waiting for the phone to ring and hoping that you met the right person and that they're going to buy what you're offering. When you have systems, you know how many leads are in your pipeline. You know what's coming. You can make adjustments. You can promote certain things because you have the data, you have the visibility. And then last but not least, you can make strategic decisions. You have the space, you have the mental capacity. You're no longer stressed and living in fear. And now you can be the strategic leader that you always wanted to be. You are leading the business and not just dragging it along and forcing it to work. And the decisions that you're going to be making are based on data. They're not just based on hope and hopefully you're going to meet so-and-so and you're going to go and see them and you're going to sponsor the golf tournament and hopefully you're going to You're making decisions that are based on hard data, on what has happened in the last 6 months that you have visibility into, and what you're projecting is going to happen in the next 6 months, because you can forecast it. You have the data. Do you want to expand the factory? Do you want to hire more people? Do you want to raise salaries? Do you want to start looking into cheaper ways to find certain materials? All of these decisions that impact the core of your business are going to be better. They're going to be smarter decisions, and they're going to be more efficient. You will no longer be living in fear that the older generation that were your father's customers are now retiring, and now you have to make your own personal relationships in order to keep the business afloat. That is a very real kind of situation that second generation owners fear, that the people that built the business up to where it is may or may not hand it over to someone with the same philosophy. And you don't have to worry about that once you have installed your systems, because you're attracting your own clients, your own relationships, and you're doing this at scale in a way that does not require you to be present and you to take your personal time and energy into all of these specific relationships. In that way, you're not living in fear that you might be the family member that loses this business. You're not staying up at night thinking, am I going to make it, or am I going to be the embarrassment? Systems make all the difference between strategic leadership and tactical firefighting, between leading the business and feeling trapped by it, between building a resilient business that will survive for the next generation and barely surviving. Systems are not just offloading relationships and communication to an automated system. Systems are still personal touches, but at scale, more efficient, more sustainable, more suited for the real world, for the modern world in which we live today. So stop thinking that because you have embraced technology and software and tools and automation that you are actually destroying the business, that you are tanking relationships that were built over decades. It's not what is happening. If you do it strategically, if you are thoughtful in the way that you install systems and in the way that you segment your customers, this could be what actually frees you and gives you more time, more freedom, it just more to help you enjoy the business and help you enjoy even the clients that you work with. Because what makes the business special is the customers that it serves. It is the community. It is the relationships. And those, again, do not have to be worked on every personal touch at a time. You can do it at scale and still do it beautifully. Systems does not mean being what you're not, or turning into a different person, or turning the business into a conglomerate. Systems just mean building infrastructure to scale the best of what your business has to offer. If you find yourself in a situation where you're a second generation business owner, especially in the construction industry, and you are starting to resent your position in this business and all of the mental and physical labor that goes into every single deal and every single facet of this business, it is time to install systems. If you do not know where to start, or if you want to have a conversation about it, send me a message, put a comment down in this video description, and let's talk about it. And I can help you get to a place where you're building a business that you love, you're enjoying your time, you are serving the community the way that you always intended. That is all for today, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye-bye.